today we are going to talk about measures and fractions. You should be on page 123 in your math book. So today we're going to talk about conversions when we have fractions involved. It's the same thing that we've already been learning all year, just a little different format, so you'll be okay. So in our first fact it says the smaller measure going to a larger measure, then our conversion will be a fraction. So a foot is smaller than a yard. So this is the same thing we've already learned, small to large. And if we're going small to large, we have to divide. And we know that there are 3 feet in a yard, so 3 is our special number. And then we're just going to write it the same as always. Remember, start with what you had. So 1 divided by 3 equals. Now normally we don't do that, but we can say 1 fraction bar 3 because a fraction bar means division. But we don't have to actually divide this out. We're just going to write our answer as a fraction. So 1 foot is only 1/3 of a yard. Now, if we are going from a large unit of measure to a smaller one, we have large to small, we know that means to multiply. So here it shows large to small is multiply. We know that there are 3 feet in a yard, so 3 is our number. And then we're going to set it up just like normal. 2/3 times 3, and we know when it's a whole number we have to put it over a 1. And then we're going to cross cancel, so we'll end up with just a 2. So 2/3 of a yard is 2 feet. So let's try a couple of examples. Alright, so in this section we have our small measurement first and then our large measurement second. So we're going to go small to large. And when we do that, remember, small to large is divide. So I know that inches are smaller than feet. So when I do that, I would say there are 12 inches in a foot, which tells me I need to put my 12 on the bottom. And I started off with 5. So in this case, we have 5 over 12. This one, we know minutes are smaller than hours. And there are 60 minutes in an hour. And then we have 10. Now normally we reduce our fractions, but in this section I'll let you just leave them the way they are so that you can make sure you're doing the steps correctly. On letter C, we know that days are smaller than weeks, and there are 7 days in a week. And we started off, we just want to know how much is 3, so 3/7 of a week. On letter D, quarts are smaller than gallons, and there are 4 quarts in a gallon. And we started off with 3, so we want to know 3/4 of a gallon. 2 feet into yards, so feet is smaller than yards, and there are 3 feet in a yard. So we're going to say 2 out of 3. So 2 feet equals 2/3 of a yard. On this one, we're going inches to yards. Now there are 36 inches in a yard. We started off with 18. And normally we would reduce that because 18 is half of 36, but we're just going to leave it for now. Alright, in this one, teaspoons are smaller than tablespoons. And there are 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. They want to know how much is 2 of them. So 2 teaspoons is 2/3 of a tablespoon. Alright, pecks are smaller than bushels, and there are 4 pecks in a bushel. We have 3/4, so 3 pecks equals 3/4 of a bushel. And months are smaller than years, and there are 12 months in a year. So we would do 9. And again, this one would need to be reduced normally, but we're just going to leave it for now. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what happens if we are going from a large unit to a small unit. And we know large to small means to multiply. So we're going to set it up the same as we always do. 1, 2, 3. So yards to feet. Large to small means multiply. And I know that there are 3 feet in a yard. So we're going to have to say 1/3 times 3, and we're going to go on and put it over the 1. We're going to do some cross canceling, and we have 1 over 1, which just equals 1. All right, letter B. So we're going years to months, which is still large to small. From large to small is multiply. And I know there are 12 months in a year. So we're going to say 1/4 times 12. And we're going to go on and put it over 1. Do some cross canceling. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So we have 3 over 1, which equals 3. So 1/4 of a year is 3 months. I'm going to skip letter C for now. We'll come back to that in a minute. So let's look at letter D. Alright, so set it up. We know that tablespoons are bigger than teaspoons, so that's multiply. And we know there are 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. So set up our multiplication problem. Put your 3 over 1. We can cross cancel. We end up with 1 over 1 again, which is just 1. Okay? Alright, so now we're going minutes to seconds. We know that minutes are larger than seconds, so that is a multiply. And we know that there are 60 seconds in a minute. So we're going to say 1/5 times 60 over 1. Okay, and we can cross cancel. 60 can be divided by 5 12 times. So we have 12 over 1, which is just 12. So 1/5 of a minute is 12 seconds. All right, we're going to skip letter F. So let's look at G. All right. So we know pints are bigger than cups. So multiply. There are 2 cups in a pint. So we're going to say 1/2 times 2 over 1. We can cross cancel. So we still end up with 1 over 1. Alright, let's try letter H. Okay, set up your steps. Alright, I know that pints are larger than fluid ounces. And there are 16 fluid ounces in a pint. Okay, so we're going to say 1/8 times 16 over 1. And 8 and 16 can cross cancel, so 8 divided by 8 is 1. 16 divided by 8 is 2. So we end up with 2 over 1, which just equals 2. Alright, so I want you now to pause the video and work on letter, I believe it was C, F, and I. And once you have completed those on your own, restart the video and we will check to make sure you got those correct. Okay, let's check and see what we got. So letter C. We're going weeks to days, so it is multiply. There are 7 days in a week. After you cross cancel, you should have gotten 2 over 1, which equals 2. Letter F. We're going pecks to quarts, and there are 8 pecks in a quart. So once you do your cross canceling, you should have gotten 2 quarts. And for the last one, let's just get rid of that screen. We have 3/4 of a gallon equals 3 quarts, because there are 4 quarts in a gallon. 3/4 times 4 equals 3. Alright, let's check out these story problems real quick on page 124. So go ahead and turn the page and let's look at the top. It says Mrs. Crawford used 3 eggs in her cake. What fractional part of a dozen equals 3 eggs? So we have to first know how many items is in a dozen, and we know that is 12. And she only used 3 of them. So 3/12 would be the fractional part of a dozen. We do want to go on and reduce that. because we can divide both of those by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So she used 1/4 of a dozen. That would be your final answer. Destiny bought 6 cookies at $3.96 per dozen. So how much did she pay? So the first thing we have to figure out is how much of a dozen is 6 cookies. So again, we know 12 is a dozen, and she only bought 6 of them. So I know that 6 twelves can be reduced to 1/2. So I need to know how much is 1/2 of $3.96. And to find that, we just have to divide by 2. Because remember, your denominator is your divisor. So we can set that up. So 2 will go into 3 one time. Bring down our 9. 2 will go into 19 9 times. We get 18. Bring down our 6. 2 will go into 16 8 times. And we're going to bring our decimal up, put our $sign. So how much did she pay? $1.98. Mr. Jackson used 3/4 a gallon of gas in his lawnmower. Each gallon costs $3.12. So how much did the gas in his lawnmower cost? Alright, so we need to figure out what is 3/4 of $3.12. Alright, so I usually like to do the division part of it first. So remember, the denominator is your divisor. So our first step is going to be, let's divide the total gallon price into each little piece. So how many times will 4 go into 31? That'll be 7 times. 4 times 7 is 28. Leaves me 3 left over. Bring down the 2. 4 will go into 32 8 times. We're going to bring up our decimal. So 1/4 of a gallon is 78 cents. Okay, but he bought 3/4 of a gallon, so I got to multiply that by 3. So 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 7 is 21. 22, 23. This is money, so put your decimal back, put your $sign. So it cost him $2.34 total. Alright, letter D. This has several questions. Jonah bought 2 pounds of margarine at $1.75 per pound. How much did he pay? So if each pound costs $1.75 and he bought 2 of them, we have to first multiply by 2 to find out how much he paid. Okay, so he paid $3.50. Then it says how much change did he receive from $5. So when we're finding change, we subtract. Alright. Bring down our decimal. Alright, so his change is going to be $1.50. And it says, what coins and bills should the cashier have given him? So there's lots of ways to make $1.50, but we want the smallest amount. So we know $1 bill would take care of the dollar. And then the 50 cents, the best way to make 50 cents could be a $1/2, but usually they will give us 2 quarters. So that takes care of your third question. Alright, last one. Probability, what we learned earlier in the week. So if there are 4 red beads and 5 blue beads in a bag, what is the probability that a blue one will be chosen at random? So remember, the first thing we want to do is find out the total number of beads. So 4 and 5 makes 9 total number of beads. And then the question wants to know how many blue ones could he have gotten, or we have gotten, would be 5 9ths. So 5/9 is the probability of a blue bead. So probability of blue would be 5/9. Alright, so now you're going to complete the rest of page 124 on your own, and once you finish, put your picture of your work on Google Classroom. If you have any questions, please let us know. Have a great day.